to give some options for starting out. So either finding a comfortable way to be seated, or if it matches what you need, it can be pretty grounding to come into half shavasana. So laying down with the feet planted underneath the knees. And we'll come back to that shape regardless. So seeing what feels the best to match what you need. And we're going to open up with some awareness practice to help us with our theme of anchoring. And we'll work with some different anchors, which is a term that comes from Vipassana mindfulness meditation, which comes from a Buddhist lineage that I've been working with and finding some support from. So most of us who teach share what works for us. So that's what we're going to work with today. So beginning with coming into your sense of nowness and getting a sense of, without trying to fix or change anything, beginning to sense your physical body in your environment. And we'll work with some different anchors, as I said, and the first one we'll work with is the anchor of the breath. So as we often say, our friends here, the breath is the language of the nervous system. So beginning to have this sensation conversation with yourself through feeling for the texture, the temperature, the duration of the inhale, sensing the pause at the top, the exhale, the pause at the bottom of the breath. And just noticing it's totally normal for there to be some stickiness or some different sensations within the breath of pleasant and unpleasant, neutral, when you begin to come into feeling. And so we'll come into using mental noting. When I do this, sometimes I literally make mental post-it notes and put them on sensations. So beginning to, if it's useful to you, note pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral as a tool to begin to bring awareness to your felt and present time experience. And then we'll shift into using another anchor of sound, allowing the resource of, there's some ambient sound and some bells that I'm going to add in right now to experiment with. Just letting yourself relax your neck as much as possible so your vestibular system, inner ear, outer ear, can take in sound as an anchor. And we'll stay with this for about 1 minute. Honoring the bravery that it can take to slow down and feel what you actually feel. And the generosity that it is to make time for yourself to build these skills of awareness practice, respiratory strength, self-compassion. And from here, taking all the time you need if you're laying down to come back to a seat or to a seat. And we'll work with some wrist stretches. So we'll come in, I am seated on a bolster for those of you who come to my classes in to supported Virasana. So I'm sitting up onto my shins on a bolster, finding any way to sit as comfortably as possible, and then beginning to stretch the arms, flexing at the wrists, pausing here, and then just getting a sense of what that does in terms of sensation, and using any of your tools as anchors. So it could be mental noting, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, could be the breath, could be orienting to sound in your environment. Any amount here. See if you can soften shoulders and shoulder blades down. Keep the front ribs softening down, which will give you more accurate information about your shoulders. And if you have tightness in the shoulders, like me, you could bend the elbows a bit. I get more into my wrists when I bend my elbows. Relaxing internally, take a big, deep, nourishing breath in here. And then on exhale, curling down, pinky finger, fourth finger, middle finger, index finger, fold the thumb over, roll the wrists down, and then reach, connecting center of chest to fingertip line. Inhale, spreading the palms forward. Exhale, folding the thumb in, giving the thumb a squeeze, and then rolling the pinky edge of the hand down to the ground. So you're getting into that texting congestion in the thumb point. And then we'll do each of those one more time. Inhale, pressing out, sensing your personal space. Exhale, curling pinky finger, fourth, middle, index, fold thumb over, roll the fists down and reach from center of chest, like you're pressing out against a support of a hand, giving you some resistance. Inhale, palms spin forward. Exhale, fold the thumb in, wrap the fingers around, and imagine two pitchers of your favorite beverage. Sounds like a warm beverage might be good for many of us today. Pouring two of those for yourself for after class on either side of a house. Relax the hands down, take a feeling breath. Exhaling, beginning to find shoulders up, sliding shoulders down. And then place your mind into the scapulas. See, do you have stickiness or gliding, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral? Using your breath to help you assess what the heck is going on in there. I have a lot of used car parts is what I'm noticing, not much gliding. And then from here, you can bring, inhale, shoulders come up, shoulders come straight back, squeeze, and then as you exhale, drag the shoulders and the shoulder blades down, increasing scapular mobility. Inhale, shoulders up, shoulders straight back, squeeze, squeeze middle shoulder blades, and then drag down as you're exhaling. You can bend the elbows a bit, stage 3, inhale. Exhale, find the bottom tips of your shoulder blades, squeeze, keep squeezing, and then drag down. Let's do one more stage of that 3-part process. Inhale, shoulders up, shoulders straight back, squeeze the top tips of shoulder blades, keep squeezing, and then drag down simultaneously. Inhale, exhale, squeeze middle shoulder blades, keep squeezing, drag down. Bend elbows slightly, inhale. Exhale, squeeze bottom tips of shoulder blades, and then drag down. Taking a moment here. We'll do some work with the neck here. As if you were tucking the chin back to the throat, rolling like a furling in wave, letting the chin come down, and then pulling the chin back like you have a yoga block on your head that you're going to put up to the ceiling. Look up, create extension in the cervical spine, and then roll down. And then pulling back, looking up. And then from there, we'll let this come into a bit of a thoracic move. So tucking the chin, roll in, let the upper back round. And then coming back, tucking the chin, looking up, coming into a flexion, or excuse me, extension in the spine, opening the chest, and then coming into flexing your spine, letting yourself be a furling in wave. And then just let that go into whatever part of the spine needs the most nourishment. Using mental noting, using the breath as an anchor, and as always, using self-compassion, letting your body know that whatever amount it's willing to open, you are good with it. And then when that feels complete, take a pause. Give yourself a hug. Let's do left arm under, right arm over. Stretch the hands open so you're using the active hands to move tension out of shoulders. If you can get a hold of your shoulder blades manually and scooch them away from each other, maybe, maybe not, just get a hold of wherever you can. Broadening upper back, and then tucking the chin, letting yourself continue to check in with your heart. In this case, the back of heart chakra. With your awareness sensing what is living energetically, what is living in the tissues in this back of heart chakra, anahata chakra, this place of love. In the case of back of heart, often it's lineage, ancestry, self-love, intuition. When you're ready, unfurl the arms, and we'll take that to the other side. Open chest muscles, and then take left arm over. Again, if you can scooch the shoulder blades away from each other, feel free to try. And then send the elbows forward, tucking the chin. Breathe into the base of your brain here. So right at the occipital ridge is the brain stem. That very much is what a lot of us have activated right now, our survival response. Sending compassionate presence, mental noting what's going on there. And then go ahead and unfurl. We'll come into a straddle side bend. So straddle, like every pose, shows up very, very differently on different bodies. So perhaps sitting up on a thing like a pillow, perhaps putting blocks underneath your knees. So just see what degree of a straddle. It might be 2 feet, it might be 6 feet, where you can get into opening the anchor of the legs, right? So once you're there, scooch around. I guess scooch is my word for today. So you can plug your bones, the bones of the pelvis, the ischial tuberosities, right into something. In my case, a blanket, could be a pillow or a prop. And then reach through your inner legs. So many of us have tightness and congestion there. So reach through inner legs. And then reach through the back line of the legs. So we've been working with that anchor of posterior chain. So really kicking through the heels as if you had a wall at each heel, finding that back line, and then finding the outer line of the leg. Get the pinky toe to wake up. And then from here, lifting up and then coming forward. I didn't get a chance to say this, or I forgot, but you can use any objects. You can feel free to pause and get some objects. We're going to spend a few breaths in a forward fold. So blocks, of course, books, furniture. Give yourself time to see where you can sense the energy of each shape, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Take a little bit of movement to help soften the jaw any amount more. Any kind of fluttering the lips. Perhaps moving the feet from dorsal flexion, toes towards shins, to plantar flexion, pointing to see what that does to wake up the legs. And then slowly coming up, feel for stacking your ribs right over the pelvis, stacking the 10 pounds of your head right on top of the atlas vertebra. And then we'll come in to deer pose is what I've been told this was called. People call it lots of different things. So start in Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees wide, and then pour your weight onto your right hip. Tuck the left heel back by the butt. And then if this does not feel good on your sacrum or your hip, you can stay in Baddha Konasana option. So once you're here, do an extra neck release here. If it works for you, grab a hold of your ankle or your shin, and then take your right hand, grab onto the ground, sort of like a cat clawing onto the mat or the floor. To wake up the armpit, move the shoulder away from the ear so you have more space when you take right ear to right shoulder to stretch into lateral flexion in the neck here. So opening into the neck, spread through the toes. In my case, I'm totally on the right hip. If you have more mobility, you might be on both hips. And then breathe. One of the things that fascinates me is this awareness that every moment is this weave of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And different times cause us to need to focus on different things. So often for me, learning to uptake what is basically good is a very advanced pose. So just see where you want to work here with the weave of what's available of awareness. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And then if you like, you can release the lower leg. You can hover it away from the ground if it doesn't feel useful to hold on to the leg. And then move the arm up. Bring the palm facing forward, and the arm is about 45 degrees from the torso, right? Fill all the way up to the chest muscles. And then on exhale, like you're going to catch something that's coming through the sky, something wonderful, perhaps. Looking up, if that's okay for your neck, so you're getting some opening in the scalenes. When the scalenes, these muscles that wrap around the side of the neck, are more released, we can orient to pleasure and basic goodness in the environment. So see where you can track access to that. Reach through all the fingers. Spread the pinky finger away from the thumb so you're widening the bones in the wrist. And adjust this in any fashion that feels more pleasant. And then from there, bring the arm back in line with the torso, reaching the arm over the ear. Roll back like you're leaning up against a wall. And then spin the pinky finger in. So you're moving the shoulder blade towards the armpit is what that eventually helps to train. And then flip the palm facing down, reach, sense the arm moving through space, cover your right ear, give your head to your hand, and then put your head back up, cradle your head. And then from there, come back through Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees wide, telescope your ribs. So that means lift your whole rib cage up away from the top crest of the pelvis. Pour the weight onto the left hip and then tuck the heel back. Again, option to stay with feet together. Grab onto the ground and feel what happens in your armpit. Move the shoulder, perhaps the shoulder blade is willing to slide down. Take the left ear to the shoulder. See what shows up in the side of the neck. If it's useful, give yourself some resistance by grabbing onto ankle or shin, leaning into your side bend. You can also just hover the hand or have the hand on a prop. Either way, sense where you can get into something that helps you be kind to where you need kindness. Exhaling long. Taking a soft, wide, nourishing breath, expanding the rib cage. And then from here, letting go of the leg. If you have it, bringing the arm about 45 degrees from the torso. Stretch the hand open. Inhale till you're all the way full. On exhale, taking the arm back like you're catching something coming from the sky. Looking up if that's okay for your neck. Otherwise, looking forward. If your neck is very tight, you can look down and still be opening your chest. Spread across the hand. Reach through all the fingers. So this energy vortex of taking in fresh prana right into the heart and the lungs here. Finding out where you can lift the ribs. And then bring the arm back in line with the torso. Spin the pinky finger in, see what happens in the shoulder blade, and then reaching the arm over the ear. Continue to study shoulder down, shoulder blade down on the left. Spread through the toes. Anytime you start to notice lots of thinking, press your feet into the ground or spread your toes if you're not standing here. And then flip the palm. Feel the air pocket around the arm through the fingers. Cradle your head. Give your head to your hand. Feel the warmth of your hand as you put your head back up. And then come back through Baddha Konasana. Take a moment here. Pressing into the inner edges of the feet, either stillness or some movement. Maybe a little bit of both. And then go ahead and come on down to your back. So we will come into half Shavasana, feet underneath the knees. You could also walk the feet a little bit forward. See what gives you the most pleasant and struggle-free experience. Look at your feet, and then like I had my toes pointing out, I'm gonna reorient to get the outer edges of my feet parallel to each other. Bring the arms wherever you feel the most freedom, and then bring your mind to your back bottom ribs. As you know, this is my most favorite move. This could be a whole class in and of itself. Begin to find the band at the back bottom ribs, broadening that band into the floor. And then sending your most loving presence to your kidneys. And sending that also to your adrenals. Continuing to massage those areas open with your compassionate awareness. Letting that be an anchor if that is useful for you. And we'll do some of the hip work that we've been working on in this class recently. So we'll come into back release, prelude to back release. Pick the right foot up, take the ankle on top of the thigh, spread through both feet. Anchor that left heel into the ground like you mean it. Kick into the ground, sense that anchor. Inhale into the right hip and then send the right outer knee away from the torso. Pause here, roll the low back side to side, sensing the sacrum, sensing the low back, getting some nourishment here, hopefully. And then coming back to center, interlace your hands in your non-habitual way, right at the base of your skull bones. Move your shoulders and shoulder blades away from the ears, reach the elbows to the ceiling, and then press the back of your head into your hands. Let some resistance build and then let it go. Give your head to your hands. Inhale, broaden those back bottom ribs. Exhale, press the left foot into the ground as you curl up. Reach both elbows to the right. Pull the low abs in. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, press left heel into the ground as you curl up and reach both elbows to the right. Send the outer knee away from you and then follow it, getting off the right shoulder if that's available. Low abs pull in. Inhale to center. Exhale, active feet. Reach both elbows to the right. Send the outer knee away from you as you follow it. And then one more time here. Inhale to center. Head stays up slightly. Exhale, getting off the right shoulder. It's a small twist. Belly in. And then come back to center. Unhook the ankle. Give yourself a moment here to reach up. Move the thigh bone away from the hip. Kick like you're trying to get the ceiling with that heel. And then come into dorsiflexion and plantar flexion a few times. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, using mental noting. Place the foot down. Take a feeling breath. And then take the left ankle on top of the right thigh. Inhale to the back bottom ribs. Exhale, send the outer knee away from torso. Plant right heel into the ground. And then rock in a way that gives you information about both SI joints and the top rim of the sacrum. So these joints on either side of the sacrum, the top rim which connects to the rest of the spine. Recenter the hips. Kick the right heel into the ground. Interlace in the opposite way of what you did before. You can repeat that skull bone release, pressing head into hands and then letting go. Inhale, massaging kidneys broad. Exhale, curl up, reach to the left, small twist, low belly pulls in. Inhale to center. Check out your eyes and your face. Use your feet instead. Exhale to the left, low belly pulls in. Inhale to center. Exhale, reach both elbows left, low belly pulls in. Inhaling, come back to center. Exhaling, curling up, unlocking the shoulders, send the knee away from you and then follow it. Low belly pulls in. One more here. Inhale. Exhale, curling to the left. Low belly pulls in. Come back to center. Place both feet down. Take a moment here. And then pick both feet up. Bring the shins parallel to the floor, the inner legs together. Spread through your hands, moving shoulders away from ears, and then bring the hands onto the thighs. So you're in essentially Utkatasana on your back. Take a big breath in. Exhale, squeeze inner legs. Press hands into thighs. Press thighs into hands. Curl pubic bone. Reach the knees straight up to the ceiling. Low abs engage. We'll do this three more times. Release, pause. Inhale, back bottom ribs, root down. Exhale, squeeze inner legs. Press hands into thighs. Press thighs into hands. Reach the knees up. Low belly pulls in. Pause. Take a feeling breath. Inhale. Exhale. Press hands into thighs. Press thighs into hands. Squeeze inner legs. Knees reach up. Low belly pulls in. Let that go. We'll do one more here. Inhale. Exhale. Press hands into thighs. Resist. Use your legs. Squeeze inner legs, knees reach straight up to the ceiling, low belly pulls in, and then let it go. Take a feeling breath. Let the warm energy that you start to get from that move throughout your whole central channel from base of spine all the way up to your brain and back down. Bridge pose. So again, options. Feet could be right underneath knees, and as I've been cueing recently, sometimes bringing the feet forward. I've had a lot of congestion in my hip flexors, so that's felt really good. So you can play with that foot position, right? Outer edges of the feet parallel, relaxing the arms. Inhale, broadening side ribs and back ribs. Exhale, press the ground away, lift the hips up. Kick into both heels, root the base of both big toes. And the move that feels fabulous for some people and not as fabulous for others is pressing heels into the ground and pulling the heels towards the back of the head. So you might want to do that lightly to see how it feels. For some people, it doesn't feel great in the knees. It feels very good on my body. It wakes up the hamstring insertion and the posterior chain. Send the thigh bones forward. Lift the hips until you feel for opening the congestion that builds up in the front of the pelvis. And then let's come into one round of Uddiyana. Relax internally and then inhale a soft, wide, full breath. When you're full, pause. Exhale everything out. When you're empty, keep the breath out. Pull the belly back. Lower down out of your bridge and then relax the belly. Inhale here. And just feel into what did that do? Tracking pleasant, unpleasant, neutral sensations of the breath, using your anchors to keep coming back to embodying your spirit, being with yourself in each shape in a compassionate way. Keep your neck relaxed. Roll on to one side. Let's come up to tabletop. So again, I have blocks, maybe having some objects to bring the floor up to you. Towels can work good for patting the knees, so just grabbing anything that might be useful. And then let's come into tabletop, wrists right underneath shoulders. Press the ground away, like you're trying to dent at the base of the index finger, base of the thumb. So you're lighting up that bicep line across the pec, shoulders away from the ears. Let the crown of the head reach forward, and then lengthen back like you're trying to lengthen your big toes. Press into the top of the feet. And then from here, beginning to come into some alternate limb reaching with a lot of focus. Bring that left leg back like you're kicking into the wall. If you're near a wall, you can use a wall. It's a great tool. Finding that rebounding effect into posterior chain, right? And then from there, taking the leg out a little bit to the left and then back to center. Option to either stay right here or add in reaching right arm forward. Bring the thumb to the ceiling so you're wrapping the shoulder blade, and we'll keep working here. Bring the leg a bit out to the left, a little wider than the yoga mat. The arm can come out too, and then back to reaching forward and back. See what shows up here in the shoulder and the hip. Sensing how when the leg gets more distal from the torso, it gets a bit heavier, more challenging. And then from there, bending the knee, bringing the right arm out, palm faces down. And then from there, kick like you're gonna touch the ceiling with that left heel, waking up that super supportive posterior chain, that anchor of the back body. Take the knee out into half frog. Press into the top of the right foot and the left hand again. And then reaching forward and back with the limbs. Place the limbs down. And then feeling how in these fairly simple gestures, you get a lot of awareness, a lot of stimulation with a lot of focus. Reach back like you're gonna kick into a wall. Roll the right hip point down so the front hip points are even, back hip points are even. One thing I'll do sometimes is you can place either a dowel or an object on your back to see is my back staying parallel. And then from there, playing with leg comes a little wider than yoga mat and then back. Move the thigh bone away from the hip. Leg comes a little wider and then reaches back. Option, left arm can come forward. Bring the thumb to the ceiling. Feel what happens in the shoulder blade. And then arm and leg can come a little bit wider and then reaching forward and back. Keep the gaze to the mat. Neck stays as relaxed as possible. Doing that a few more times. Placing the left hand out like a wing, palm down, bending into the right knee, kicking the heel bone to the ceiling, getting very specific with that activation. Feel the hamstring respond. Take the knee out into half frog. So the knee might be hovering an inch off the ground or be even with the hip, with the hip point, depending on what you got going on. Honoring that, keep the hips as even as possible. And then check out your foundation of your anchors. Press into the right hand and the top of the left shin. And then reach forward, reach back, make space in the shoulder and the hip. Bring the hands down. Take a moment here. And then it's been a great pose for a lot of people, definitely myself included lately, dolphin prelude. So from tabletop, elbows are gonna come down right underneath shoulders. There's also an option to put the elbows on blocks, which is gonna deepen the sensation. So that would look like this. So once you have that, you can bring the knees a bit wider, toes closer like you were coming into child's pose. Hands are gonna come behind the head, perhaps the upper back, And then use your awareness of your sit bones. Reach your sit bones back. And then coming into, press into the ground with wherever your arms are touching the ground. If you have access to it, give your head over to the ground. And then use this to study all of the meridians that we have from center of chest to fingertips. So heart and lung meridians are all what's running there. And there's a lot of nadis, energetic pathways that are from the system of yoga that are being nourished and cleared and balanced here. When you're ready, place the hands down. Bring the hands back underneath the shoulders for tabletop, and we'll come into dolphin pose. So same setup, elbows come down, underneath shoulders, touch the middle of upper arm so you have that alignment. You don't want the elbows wider than the shoulders. The most supportive version, clasp hands. The second possibility is forearms parallel. Either version, move the shoulders away from the ears, lift the part of the spine between shoulder blades, let the head go. Curl the toes under, and then use your low abs like you're gonna sit your sit bones right on the ceiling, pike the hips up, take the hips back. And it's fine to keep the knees bent. In fact, it's quite interesting to really come into, for me, low ab connection. Keeping legs bent can help me find that, and then I straighten the legs. Press the ground away with every body part that's making contact with the ground. Press into the forearms. Kick into the feet. Feel for the rebounding effect, this ground force action that shows up in the tissues again and again when you anchor into the earth. Bring the front ribs towards the back ribs to broaden across that kidney area. And then when you're ready, gently place knees down, sit back into embryo. So child's pose with the arms resting alongside the torso. Give your head over. And then from there, come on back to tabletop. And we'll come into a lunge. We'll come right into a lunge. So step the left leg forward. And we'll build this in the way we've been working more recently in this class. Hold on to the hips and then study where is the front hip point. The short term is PSIS is the posterior part of pelvis. ASIS is the front. Ultimately, you want them even is the general rule of thumb, right? So for most, mine hikes way back because I have lordosis, so I have to work on getting that down. So play with what's going on there. And then see, are your hips willing to come forward? See what shows up in the quads. I'm getting some nice hip flexor work here. And then from there, hands could stay on the top of the leg or blocks. Reach the arms up, spin pinky fingers in. Maybe the arms are by the ears. Maybe they're way more broad, like this feels better to my shoulders. Looking up to open up the front of the neck. For many of us with so much device work, we're shortening those scalenes, so softening is really nice. Hold on to the left hip and then lift the ribs. Reach up and over with the right hand. Again, wrapping that right shoulder blade. Bring the front ribs towards the back ribs. Contract the sit bone muscles on that right leg to stabilize the right hip. So you have a pair of actions, a root and a rise. And then from there, go ahead and come back up. We're going to transition into modified chaturanga and some therapeutic back bending. So knees could be down. If you want to do knees up, that's totally fine too. Shoulders away from the ears, crown of the head forward, engaging pubic bone towards navel. Lowering down with control, so press the ground away the whole time. Elbows come next to ribs. Lifting your right leg. Lengthen that leg back. Roll the inner thigh to the ceiling so the quads get this massage across the top of the mat. Ground all of the toes, all of the bones of the foot. Do that on both sides. And then from here, we'll come into cobra push-ups. So hands at the middle ribs next to the torso. Press the tops of the feet into the ground. If you know this with using a roll or a block, you can squeeze something to the inner legs. Otherwise, we'll just come right in. So just like it sounds, pull the hands towards the feet, lifting up, and then lowering down, reaching heart forward. Legs are solid, press feet into the ground, hands pull towards the feet. Come on up, and then lower down. Do 2 or 3 more at your own pace. Elbows stay in, hands pull towards feet to make space in the low back and the spine in general. And then when that's complete, take a moment, come into crocodile. Either stack the hands and place your head on your hands or bring your forearms onto the ground and turn your head. Feel for relaxing the glutes and then press your forearms into the ground, whichever variation you're doing, and notice what muscles fire in the back. So it may be the lats. It may show up in the shoulders. Just see what happens. Press into the ground so you're anchoring. All these different ways you can use these micro moves to come back. Letting that go. Hands under shoulders, shoulders down the back, press back through tabletop and into down dog. So hands come a little bit forward from tabletop, eye at the elbow, bicep line spins forward. Use your low abs like you're gonna sit up on the ceiling and then straighten the legs. And we'll take that vignette on the other side. So you can either step right through or hoist that puppy forward in any fashion, right leg. And then find out, front hip point, back hip point, which is higher? What is your best version of optimal alignment? Lift your ribs. See where your hips are willing to go today. Maybe you stay at that 90. Maybe you come forward and get into the quads and the hip flexors. Once you're there, sweep up in a way that helps you to telescope your ribs, lift your ribs. You can even get a hold of your rib cage and lift it for yourself. Make space for the diaphragm. Every movement comes from the diaphragm because if we're not breathing, nothing's happening. Pinky fingers spin in, find out where your arms feel the most dynamic and comfortable. Reach through all the fingers, connect your heart to your hands. Hold on to that right hip. Contract the hamstring insertion and the lowest fibers of the glutes on the left. Anchor that left hip. Telescope and then reach up and over. And then just notice, can you knit the front ribs in, which is going to give you more access into the side body? Set your eyes to just one thing. Relax internally. Inhale. Expand and lift ribs. Come back up, and then from there, take yourself back into another modified chaturanga or any transition that you practice, and we'll come through another variation of Shalabhasana, lowering down, press the ground away, elbows next to ribs, lengthen back, roll the inner thigh to the ceiling. And then this time, bring the hands next to the torso. Press, press, press into the ground with hands and feet. From there, press into the top of the right foot. Lift the left leg. Lift the chest. Reach the left arm forward. Reach the right arm forward. And then from there, lifting up, wrap the right shoulder blade, lengthen back through the left leg, and we'll switch. Lift the right leg. Left arm reaches forward, thumb to the ceiling. Lift up. One more time on each side. Right arm forward, left leg lifts. Switch. And release. Come back to your crocodile. Relax first. And then press the forearms into the ground. See what shows up in the back body. And then here we go, hands on your shoulders, shoulders away from the ears. Press back through your table into your downward facing dog. And then from here, we'll come into warrior one with back toes curled under. So left leg is coming forward. Bend into the back knee and hover the knee. Option to place that knee down if that's a better move for you. So similar to what we were doing in twisting lunge. Otherwise, come into warrior one with back toes curled under. Find your optimal alignment, front hip point and back hip point even. Lift ribs. Interlace your hands. Come into brain cradling, wrap elbow tips forward, lift the low ribs away from pelvis, lift the middle ribs away from low ribs, lengthen the back skull bones away from the top of the spine as you come back into your back bend. Kick into the left heel, press into the ball of the right foot. Contract the low fiber of the glutes on the right side, the hamstring insertion. And then from there, come on up. And then we'll come into resetting to a straight right leg. So this is where your props are going to come in handy. So see where you can adapt this to what you have in your environment, straightening into the leg. Kick the right heel into an imaginary wall. Use your glutes. Use the power in the leg, hugging muscle to bone. Inhale, lengthen the crown of the head and the spine. Forward, and then straighten the left leg and fold. And then you can keep going here. Rebend the knee, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, straighten. Lengthen the left big toe. Root the base of the big toe. Roll the right inner thigh back. And then stay. Find, when you're ready, shoulders away from ears. Look towards the navel. And then use this pose as a way to teach the parts of your upper body that are gripping, or any part of your body that are gripping, that there is an anchor of support. Reach through your legs. Feel the strength of your legs. And then re-bend your knee. We'll take another transition here. So modified chaturanga or any other variation. Press the ground away, lower down. Reach back through each leg, lengthen. And then this time coming into taking the hands at fingertips at shoulder height underneath the elbows. Curl the pubic bone towards the navel. Use the low glutes to stabilize. Lift the chest and then look underneath one arm. Roll the opposite shoulder forward. And while you're looking back, check out, is your baby toe planted? Changing this in any fashion that gets into where you need it. And then come on back, come into your crocodile. Relaxing. And for some people, this is useful, like many things. Some people it's not. So you can play with this, which is using some intra-abdominal pressure here to find stabilization and balancing the core. So what you would do is press the abdominals out onto the floor and then let go. And if it's useful, you could repeat that a couple more times, pressing out and then softening. And then from there, hands under shoulders, shoulders away from the ears. Use the power of the exhale to push you back. And then in your down dog, using your core, step the right leg forward. Warrior one, back toes curled under. Bending into that back knee, option of bringing the knee down. Checking out front hip point and back hip point. Checking out front ribs. And then switch up the interlace. Interlace the hands behind the base of skull bones. Wrap elbow tips forward. Lift through each set of spine bones. Kick into the ground toe. Keep activating and circulating energy through the legs. Coming back any amount into your back bend here. Using the contact of hands to skull bones to breathe into your brain. Another movement that I find useful here is to hug my feet towards each other and then bring the torso up. Coming forward, reset to a straight left leg, kick through the leg, and then from there, lengthen the spine forward, square the hips, and then straighten the leg and fold, and then play with that a few times, using this to circulate energy through the spine as you're also teasing out adhesions, working with the tissues in the legs. And then when you're ready, stay in this pyramid variation. Ground through the heel and all across the ball of the right foot. Roll the left inner thigh back. Softening shoulders away from ears, looking towards the navel point, letting the head go. And then from here, rebending the knee, we'll do a final variation of these therapeutic back bends, coming through your plank, lowering down, letting yourself feel for stabilizing as much as possible in your transition. Lengthen back through each leg, and we'll do some shoulder shrugs here. So roll inner thighs to ceiling, lift legs, lift shoulders, hover the hands about 6 inches off of the ground, 6 inches next to shoulders. Inhale, broaden upper back. Exhale, squeeze shoulders, shoulder blades and elbow tips. Inhale, broaden upper back. Exhale, squeeze shoulders, shoulder blades, elbow tip. Inhale, broaden upper back. Exhale, squeeze shoulders, shoulder blades, elbow tips. Reach through your legs, and then again, coming into letting go, coming onto the belly. Any variation of that crocodile pose. Repeating the intra-abdominal pressure if it was useful to unwind core tension. And then from here, we'll come into a pose called lounge lizard. So you're gonna make one long line with your whole body. And I'm on the right side of my mat. You can do any side. If you happen to have a yoga block, you could grab onto a block or even use a rolled up towel, but if not, no worries, you could use a pillow, but something that helps you to wake up the inner leg line and work the inner leg line. Get the outer edges of the feet parallel and begin to roll the outer hip a bit. And then from here, similar to Cobra, you can use this arm that's on the ground to help you telescope your ribs, lengthen the low ribs away from the top crest of the pelvis. And then see where you can use either your hand or your awareness to connect to the organs in whichever side of the body is closest to the ground, whether you know it's there or not. So, you know, liver is there on the right side. And sending compassionate presence and awareness to your torso and the organ ring here. Kicking through the legs like you were in a standing pose. And when you're ready, take that to the other side. Roll, so the opposite side. Making one long line. Rolling the inner thighs in, squeezing onto your prop. Lengthening the ribs away from the top crest of the hip, finding whatever position for your neck is the best. So maybe chin to chest, looking down, ear to shoulder, play around with it. Roll the outer hip a bit. And then releasing your lounge lizard, coming onto your back. Coming into half shavasana, feet underneath knees. Finding that contact with the back ribs. And then checking in with yourself, either coming right into a happy baby or any other finishing shape here that would be good for you. So either getting a hold of your feet, if that causes you struggle in your neck or shoulders, you can get your knees or your legs. So bringing yourself essentially into the shape of a squat in a supine position. Taking any movements that help you to make space, to find out what shows up pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And then when that feels complete, lengthening your limbs, coming into your final relaxation pose, using any of your supports to set up a nest. And then in your Shavasana, if it's available, letting go of any anchors, any particular type of breathing, any kind of efforting, seeing where you can let go as much as possible, letting wherever you are on that continuum be enough. Beginning to come into your awareness of the breath. And letting yourself find your way back to a seat. And sensing this practice of co-regulation, how together we can regulate ourselves and each other, and the way that we're all coming together to support each other in practice right now. And if you like, bringing the hands to touch. Finishing this practice with this salutation of welcoming and honoring each other. Namaste.
Thank you.